I'm curious, where did this interest in civic duties and running for office, what inspired you?
We went to Little Rock to see Bill Clinton give a speech, seeing the MTV Rock the Vote bus, and I thought that was so cool. It was just like you felt like part of something larger. You're kind of like part of history, just being there, seeing a presidential candidate speak in front of everybody. So that kind of sparked the interest, but also it just felt cool being able to help people make progress for our future. That's what sparked it.
Welcome to Pretty Smart 2, where smart conversations meet real-life experience. Today, we're talking with Amy S. Smith, a licensed professional counselor, registered play therapist, devoted mom of 3, and candidate for El Dorado, Arkansas City Council Ward 2, Position 2. With more than a decade spent listening, helping, and showing up for families, Amy brings a powerful perspective on what it means to lead with compassion, consistency, and most importantly, listening skills. Welcome, Amy S. Smith, to Pretty Smart 2.
Welcome to Pretty Smart 2. I wanted to introduce my good friend here, Amy Smith. Amy is running for City Council in El Dorado, Arkansas. And welcome to Pretty Smart 2, Amy.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. If you don't mind, I'd like to give a shout out to my kiddos, May and Owen and Reagan.
You have beautiful children, all very talented and sweethearts for sure. Amy and I have known each other for, I don't know, 30 years, maybe longer, probably
Oh,
longer.
yeah, since high school. So, yeah, since the 90s.
Yeah, for a long time. And we both have been in the same circle of friends since then. We did theater together all through high school. Well, I think I was a senior when you were a
Yeah.
freshman in high school, but we did theater together, and then as adults have done plays together, and have just been best of friends with our group of girlfriends. We go on girlfriend trips and go crystal digging, so we have a good time. Amy is an amazing human being, therapist, and just listens so well. You have some of the best people skills for listening and for helping people out that you're such a great friend to have. I'm super excited when you announced to our friend group that you were running for City Council in El Dorado. I was like, yes, this is perfect. I was thinking there's probably some listeners out there that may be wondering, what a city council member does in a city like El Dorado, Arkansas. Could you help answer that for them and maybe clarify what a city council member's job is?
Sure, that's a great question. What they're supposed to do usually is to represent the residents and be a voice for the citizens of the area. But they also pass certain ordinances, approve the city budget, make decisions, based off of what the citizens need.
El Dorado is such a diverse community of people and economic levels. In your particular Ward 2, you have some of the wealthiest people in El Dorado and then some of the poorest. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how are you going to balance these two very different kind of sides of the spectrum with things?
Right. That's a great question because I think, like you said, El Dorado has a very diverse population, and really the current makeup of city council may not really reflect that. And so I think just inclusivity and getting to know the residents, getting to know all of the ward's needs, not just certain areas, and being a representative for all of the citizens.
El Dorado is my hometown, and the ward that you're representing was actually my family. My grandmother lived in that ward when she was alive there in El Dorado, on Short West 2nd Street. When I was a kid, I lived on Short West 2nd Street for a few years with my grandmother and my mother after my parents' divorce. I remember it becoming like the place you would kind of drive around to avoid when people would come into town and that sort of thing. And I think that's so sad because there's just like precious little homes back there, places that people could be having as their community,
The poverty rate is, I think, 23 or 24% in El Dorado, and that's pretty high. So we got to think about those people, those areas, try to help them in some way, whether it's ordinances to help pass certain educational programs or helping find more jobs for the area.
And then you've also got one of the highest levels of food insecurity is in the state of Arkansas. And I feel like just the lack of grocery stores maybe has a lot, especially in a town like El Dorado. In some of the neighborhoods, it might be a couple miles to get to the grocery store. So you're not having like walkable grocery stores for people that don't have a vehicle, or public transportation is not really a thing in El Dorado.
Well, we have the Medicaid ban, and that's just for doctor's appointments. If people have Medicaid, they can take that for doctor's appointments, but we don't have anything as far as just public transportation, to get to grocery stores or anything like that. That is something that is definitely needed.
I know that it's so important to have those folks represented. You've got a lot of older community there. So thank you so much, because it's hard for everybody to get heard. What made you decide to run for city council?
Yeah. Well, I really believe that people deserve the proper representation. Someone that listens and shows that they care. I've spoken to the people, the residents of Ward 2, and they feel like their area is kind of being neglected. So they want to be considered. And so I'm running to help them feel more included and heard.
Do you have any examples specifically of things that aren't being heard in that ward that you just wish you could bring to light?
Yes, part of it is the infrastructure. There are certain streets that flood and they don't get the attention that other areas get attention. They're not a priority. And so these people want to be more of a priority. They want to feel like they're being heard and that they're getting the attention that other parts of the city get.
Everyone's a part of a city. Everybody's there to put in their parts. The more ownership you have in your neighborhood, instead of feeling like you're not being seen, you're not having your infrastructure, your streets fixed.
Yeah.
I can see that would make a big difference for sure. What does running for office mean to you as a woman?
Well, I know Michelle Obama once said, there's no limit to what we as women can accomplish. And I believe that. It's about going for what you want and taking risks. But also, I hope that the next generation, like my daughter, sees me being brave, taking risks, and really is inspired to do the same. That's what it means, for me to be a woman and running for office.
We talk about this a lot just in our girlfriend group about we're getting a little bit older in our lives and we've had experiences and we're ready to share and help people in new and different ways. And yes, to have our daughters, our children look at us as examples is so important. Kind of going back to what we talked about earlier with my grandmother living on Shortwest 2nd Street. She was a widow and my mom was divorced and she was raising 2 daughters. So here we are, a family, a household full of women living on Shortwest 2nd Street. My mother was an educated lady. She worked for the state of Arkansas. My grandmother was a retired telephone operator. And just watching them go through all the things that they went through, and it definitely formed me, as I'm sure that some of the women in your life have formed you and your opinions on things. And for El Dorado to also think about that in the elections, you want to see the generations coming up that do have children that are trying to make the city better for their children. That's incredible. Love that so much. All right, so next question. What are some of the issues that you're passionate about for Ward 2?
So, of course, there's concerns about quality of life, affordable housing. It's getting pretty rough for people to find affordable housing anywhere, really. But also citizens' rights to privacy. That's an important one. And then the infrastructure, like the drainage, the streets some streets don't have proper drainage, and I'd like to make sure to address these things and make sure that they're not ignored.
I'm sure that the people of Ward 2 would be very happy to have those things addressed for them. So thank you. What is your campaign message?
I want the folks to know that their voice matters. Government should work for the people and by the people, not just for some people, by some people. And I think that's a tried and true statement. Really, that means that the political power rests with the citizens, not just a select few. And El Dorado, like we said, has a very diverse population, and everyone deserves to be part of the community.
You saying that, it reminds me of some of our elderly citizens and the citizens that might be living in Ward 2 specifically that are lower income, that are maybe living Social Security checks. So that's what they're depending on. And to have their housing going up, or to have groceries going up, and then gasoline going up, and everything's going up right now. How hard that is for especially our elderly, and as a leader like yourself, to step up and to remember those voices that are underrepresented. Very easy to not be represented because there's just not someone always there represent them. I know there's probably been some challenges with your campaign. What are some of those challenges? What are some challenges that you have discovered along the way?
So I'm very much an underdog in this situation. My opponent's been in the city council for probably 18 years. So one thing that I've learned about myself is that I'm not a quitter. Even when the odds are against me, I'm usually a very quiet and reserved person, but this is a very important calling. And I think that it's okay to step out of your comfort zone, and you really be surprised when you do that, what support you'll find from others. There's others out there that will support you and help you along the way.
That you call it a calling, that this is a calling. When you first told us about this in our friend group, that you were going to run for city council, everyone was just like, yes, yes. We see the calling. We see the light coming out of you, that you have this in you to do this, to have that kind of calling, like you called it. That's really awesome. On this podcast, we do definitely focus on female empowerment and focus on females that are doing amazing things. And that is why we invited you on the podcast today, Amy. What does female empowerment mean to you?
Female empowerment is having the freedom to make decisions on your own without seeking permission or approval. We grew up in the 90s, so I'm just thinking about like all the empowering females of the 90s, like maybe Madonna, Oprah. What Madonna would say in one of her songs, express yourself, don't repress yourself. And so that kind of is what female empowerment looks like for me, just being able to make your own decisions and expressing yourself freely.
Yes. Lean into those conversations and work with the men, and work with the men that will work with us. That's important too. Yes, for sure. I love that. What advice would you give to a woman who wants to run for office someday in the future?
Do it. Don't wait until the timing's perfect. Don't wait until you think you know everything. Just go out there, and you can learn as you go. You won't be perfect. You'll be learning along the way. And like I said, you'll be surprised at the support you find along the way. So I've been surprised. Friends, but even people, strangers that I don't even know, that have come out and said that they could help with the campaign, or I've just been surprised by the amount of people that have been supportive.
El Dorado is a great community for people stepping up and supporting people when they believe in someone. And I think that is an amazing part of that community, and something that I always enjoyed about El Dorado. You would feel the support from the people that kind of had your back. They definitely would come out, and I'm very happy that that's happening for you. So right before we had this interview, I looked up some facts about El Dorado and voter registration because I wanted to know, when the deadlines are to register to vote for this election, when the election would be, and that sort of thing. And something I found that I found very interesting: Union County voters show up for presidential, the big elections. It's like over 50% of the voters show up for those, which to me, that seems like a large number. Could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not in politics, but I was sort of surprised that that there were that many registered voters that actually showed up. However, for the local elections, it was such a low percentage. It was like 15, 18% of registered voters show up.
Yes, especially the younger generation, they need to know what's going on in their communities. They need to know how to register to vote and when to vote. So that's part of getting out there and just putting the boots to the ground, getting out and going door to door. That's what we'll be doing soon as part of the campaign. And then asking people if they need help registering to vote and really getting it out there that this is important. It's your future.
Yes, exactly. And it's really pretty easy to register to vote. You go to the library, the DMV, online. You can go to the courthouse, fill out a voter registration card. However, I do know, because I just moved back to Arkansas from California, that you do need your driver's license. So if you don't have a real ID, make sure to go and get one. And you need your social security card, your birth certificate. Make sure to have kind of all those documents, because it all takes time. So if you don't have your social security card with your proper name on it right now, go get it. So if you've been married, if you've had a name change, you need that on your social security card. So get that done. So you're able to register to vote in time. And I did look up some dates. So for anybody wondering out there, looks like the deadline to register to vote for the city council election is Monday, October the 5th. You have to be registered by then. And then your election day for people voting will be November 3rd. So, Amy, I'm curious, where did this interest in civic duties and running for office, what inspired you?
Yeah, well, really, I think it began probably in high school, the interest in politics. We went on a trip with the Young Democrats in high school. We went to Little Rock to see Bill Clinton give a speech. And while we were there, I just remember seeing the MTV Rock the Vote bus. And I thought that was so cool. It was just like you felt like you're part of something larger, larger than yourself. And so it also felt like you're kind of like part of history, just being there, seeing a presidential candidate speak in front of everybody. So that kind of sparked the interest, but also it just felt cool being able to help people make progress for our future. That's what sparked it.
Whether we choose to vote and make a difference, or whether we choose to stay home, that's a vote. Not voting is a vote against yourself, but it's a choice. You're choosing to make a difference. And thank you so much doing it for our hometown and showing up for everyone in Ward 2. Thank you so much for being here today. I am super excited to see what happens with this election and just to watch you go through this process. It is inspiring, and thank you for being just a radiant and confident woman in the community of El Dorado and such a good friend. Amy, you will be the friend to this ward, and I think that is just beautiful. And we are so happy that you came to join us on Pretty Smart 2 today. I apologize that Brandy couldn't be here. She's busy working, but we were super, super happy to have you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the sweet words. And everyone, don't forget to go out and register to vote and vote on November 3rd.
Bye.
Bye.